How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Another beautiful, hot and humid day today, actually, in Arizona. This heat's killing me, man. I don't know how much longer I can do it. For you that are new to the channel, my name's Tyler, and this is my BMW 535i. We've been on a long journey together. It's been lots of ups and downs and lots of learning experiences, and I'm happy to continue to try to push this platform to prove to everybody that N55 is still a respectable platform that should be respected by, B58, S55, S58 owners.
And you will respect my authority!
So, wanted to come on here and give everybody an update and kind of show you where I'm at with the car and what we've done in the last 4 months. So, welcome to another episode. All right, so it's been about 4 or 5 months since I've updated the channel. As many of you saw my previous video, we had the motor out. We lifted the head with the Pure 750. Surprisingly, that turbo is a pretty solid turbo. I give it a lot of respect. We were making about 32 PSI with it, with the wastegate duty cycle maxed out, and it was putting down some power, and enough so that we were creating enough cylinder pressure that we lifted the head. As many people know, the N55 has a handful of, it's actually got 4 9mm head studs and the rest are 11mm. So we opened up those 4 9mm that are in the front and on the back of the motor. We opened them up to 11s. We put ARP 625 head studs in there, and we did the epoxy closed deck. If you haven't seen my other videos, go ahead and check those out. I give a full build sheet. You can see all the parts. We got manually forged rods, forged pistons, the works. So go and check out my other videos. You just kind of get caught up on the build. What I'm going to go over today is my new turbo manifold. So I decided to go to a full frame turbo, obviously after the Pure 750, because I felt like there was some more on the table there for me with obviously building my motor. My original goal was 700 horsepower. I fell just short of it. During the summer when we dynoed the car, it made about 650 with about 640 or 30 foot-pounds of torque. That was in like 110 degree weather, no meth, and just awful conditions. So with my draggy times, I was doing like 6.9s. So with the weight of this car, we guesstimated with a calculation that it was pretty close to about 680 horsepower. So wheel horsepower. So the goal had already been 700. So I figured, you know what, we need to make that goal, and now we're going to far exceed that goal. So I was in search for a manifold. I had talked to a couple people, a couple different businesses or garage guys, and what I found I wasn't really happy with. So I decided, you know what, it's time. I got the motor out. We'll go ahead and make our own. So this came to a big debate because the main thing was everybody does a top mount. And I've been in the racing industry a long time. I am an engineer by trade. I've been in the engineering world for 15 years, aerospace and automotive. And everything about a top mount tells me something's not right. The reason why is because top mounts are aesthetically pleasing, but when it comes to heat dissipation, it is
hot, fast, and full of garbage.
There's a lot of kick-ass top mounts out there. Obviously, top mount is the new thing. And there, a bunch of BMWs out there with top mounts that are kicking ass. But for me, what I was like, we already have a packaging constraint with the F10. The N55 in this car is actually pushed back pretty far. And so as you can see, the shock towers are almost 3/4 of the way, maybe about 3/4 of the way from the front of the motor. So we got a really large constraint on that side. So to try to bring the manifold up and then to do the turbo, and obviously with heat not being your friend, so many people have issues with heat in the hood, heat on the valve cover, and then also when you bring all this heat into the front of the motor where it's supposed to be going down towards the bottom of the motor, you expose electrical components, your coils, fuel injectors, all these things to an excessive amount of heat. That's one of the main reasons why I developed the front mount intake system, because the N55 and a lot of BMW engines are so heat soaked, it's so hot, and it's all about heat dissipation and cooler air and cooler temperatures. So that's one of the reasons why I did that, and that's one of the reasons why I designed this manifold. So we didn't just go with a bottom mount, I went with an underslung mount. So this turbo, and we'll show you in the pictures here, is actually mounted right next to the transmission where the factory downpipe is for the F10 chassis. So I went ahead and went through a couple designs. I have these right here. I had a buddy at work help me design and print a 3D flange that went onto the motor, and then we have these 3D printed runners, and so I was able to put these together and kind of design what I wanted to do for, you know, building this manifold. I did a couple different versions. The first one I was actually pretty happy with, but the fit and finish wasn't there. So I went back, tore the whole thing down again, and went back to it, doing the 6:1. I decided to go 1.25 inch. I saw a couple guys out there building 1.5 inch runners, and there is a significant amount of lag unless you're making over 1,500 horsepower. 1.5 inch is just way too big. If you want to spool high on the top end and you got a high RPM motor, go for it. But these things, you know, we rev out to about 7,000, 6,500 RPMs, and you need all the low end you can get. So I went with 1.25 inch runners to a 6:1, and then from there it was just a matter of, you know, making sure all the packaging was right and the length of everything. They're unequal length, but it's kind of hard to do an equal length when you're going to an underslung because you have a couple long runners from the front to the rear. But I think it's a good design. I like the placement. There's tons of heat shielding already in the area because that's where the heat is originally supposed to be. So I'm pretty happy with the design. I got it all tacked up, and I am a fabricator. I've been fabricating and doing this kind of stuff for, you know, a long time, back in my pre-runner days and building cages for motorcycles. And if you know my background, I've raced off-road. I used to stunt ride street bikes. I've had a background in MIG welding, some TIG welding for aerospace, but I'm just not confident enough in my abilities to put down, you know, clean enough welds to display product. So I had my homie Omar hook me up with his fabricator, and Omar at Vader Solutions, solid dude, always there to help me out. And he hooked me up with his boy Kyle, and Kyle is a fabricator by trade. He used to work for a turbo company, and that's what he does. So I brought him the manifold, and we kind of went over everything. We made a jig out of it. And so there is intent to possibly sell this manifold. I still want to test, I still want to tune, I still want to actually make another one, do some bench testing and flow testing on the bench. I stand behind my work. I don't just make stuff and put it out there and say it's good to go. I actually want to spend some time in development and testing and making sure everything's as it's supposed to be. That's one of the reasons why many of you saw I took my front mount intake system off the website. One of the reasons is because in my development stages, I was using my car, but my car was so far past the stock platform that I had a custom tune. Carrie had, you know, I'm MAFless, so I'm on speed density. We've tuned out so much stuff that it worked for my car, but when we put it on a couple stock cars, there was a lot of issues. So I put on the website, and I'll let everybody know, if you still want the intake, it is for sale. I want everybody to be aware it does not work with a stock configuration. It needs to have a custom map and your tuner be able to make some adjustments. So, but yeah, so going back to the turbo manifold. So I still want to do some testing and tuning, and then we'll kind of go from there and see how things go. But we had some packaging constraints, and I had some decisions to be made. In those decisions, we actually, I think, made a really good decision. So my next, item on the list was, where was I going to locate my wastegate and how was I going to run it? I wanted to recirculate the wastegate because I do not like the sound of a dump wastegate. Sounds cool when you have anti-lag. It sounds, that's awesome, and you got fires and flames and blah, blah, blah. But I like the clean sound of the recirculated wastegate going back into the exhaust. So that was my main concern, was I wanted to be able to do that. But because when doing that, I want to make sure I don't have any boost creep, and I want the wastegate to be as efficient as possible and operate as good as it possibly can. So in all that conversation, we decided to weld the wastegate straight to the exhaust side of the turbine. A lot of people know that this is the best way to control boost. It is the most effective and smoothest way to alleviate that exhaust gas on the turbine so that it is very efficient in controlling your boost. So that's what we ended up going with, and it just so happened on the F10 where I wanted it to go, where there's a perfect cutout in the transmission location, it came out and it was clean recirculation right back into the downpipe. So I'll show you guys in these pictures. We recirculated it. We ran a 3.5 down tube off the turbo and recirculated the downpipe, or the wastegate, into the downpipe. But there's one big caveat with running a turbo like this, an underslung turbo or a lower mount turbo, and that is the oil drain system. Now, when it comes to having a turbo that low, your oil drain is obviously significantly lower than it used to be. The location is still the same location on right above the oil pan line where it meets the block, but to get that oil back up into the motor, I designed a scavenge system. I got with the guys over at Aeroflow in Australia, and they helped me put together a kit that was a scavenge tank, so a reservoir, with a scavenge pump. The only bummer part is the scavenge pump is a little bit loud.
The problem is that it's so loud.
It sounds like your basic Holly or any kind of pump that's outside of a tank. It's significantly louder than I would like for it to be. I'm still gonna work on trying to sound deaden that some way, somehow, to make it a little bit better, a little bit quieter. But with that, we ran the oil drain to the reservoir, and then we got the reservoir going to the pump. And then I'll show you a video on this from the pump. I have it to an oil filter that goes to a check valve and then runs all the way back up to our drain system in a -10 AN fitting. We use the factory actual oil drain fitting that goes into the block. I just cut the end off where the rubber hose was, and we welded a -10 AN on there. So we ran that with some DEI heat shielding. So I think this system is, I think it's going to work really well, and it will definitely keep us from having too many smoky starts and stuff like that. So so far so good. We got the car running, and I've tested out the system, and everything seems to be working as intended. I actually had a mishap where I got a little too excited and I forgot to flip my switch on, and we were running the car. It was deadheading and then spit out the exhaust, and so we got a smoke screen in here, and I realized I didn't have the pump on. And so that's something that I got to get used to. I have it on a switch, but it actually turns off with ignition. But it doesn't turn on with ignition unless I leave the switch on, which I can do. It's just for those periods where I'm either sitting or in a staging lane or something like that, and you don't want that pump running all the time without oil. It's bad for the pump. The oil is actually kind of like a lubrication system for the pump. So yeah, just got to get used to that. But other than that, everything went together pretty smoothly. I'm really happy with my design and where everything's at and location. I had a lot of people that saw pictures of the turbo and its location see that it's right by the subframe, and my reasoning there was, one, I wanted it to be above the subframe line. So you've seen probably in some time attack cars and some other stuff, those turbos are way down there, but I wanted mine just to be slightly above the subframe. But with doing that and the way I have it clocked, the main issue that we ran into was the actual intake system. But I designed with a buddy at work that helped me design this flange, a screen system that actually has a filter. So it's not just running the screen, it actually has a filter that you can take out and wash and then put back in. So we'll be selling those on the website as well for, even work for the top mount guys, just to add that little bit of extra filtration system for the turbo, because one of the biggest things when you start bringing in these contaminants, especially in Arizona, we have all this dust and dirt and debris all over the road. That going into your engine is a big teardown of your engine. It will affect a lot of different things, and you want to make sure that you try to keep that stuff internally as clean as possible. So we'll be offering that for sale as well. So it's been quite a project. All right, she's all back together. Don't mind that red wire, I'm fixing that. We got the underslung in-house performance header on here with the 6862 Pulsar. Down below, you can't see it really, you can kind of see it right there. The new boost tube with the new vibrant clamp. This is the pinless style with the spring. So
So we even got a protection plate up top for that upper runner to protect that valve cover for some heat. We even added a vibrant clamp over here. Sick of dealing with that O-ring to the throttle body and charge pipe. So we got the car idling and running. I drove it in and out of the garage. So we're just waiting for Carrie to get me a base map and we can really start to go to town on this.
I think I got everything pretty well mapped out. We got the oil feed line, we got the oil drain system all done. And so obviously, like I said, the car is running. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the car down. It was running full E85. We're actually running like E90 for a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it down to E55. The injector limits for these S63 M5 injectors on E85, per Chris Dorsch's, he informed me that they're right around 800 wheel, and so just based off the flow rate for E85. So if I drop down to an E50, then I have the ability to run a little bit more power on this setup. I got their lift kit already, I got the S63 injectors, and then I got the stage 2 pumps. So we're all set in the fuel department. So we just got to make sure that we don't overwork the system and, you know, have some hiccups. So I'm dropping it down to an E50 tune. So like I said, my original goal was 700 wheel horsepower, and now the sky's the limit. Actually, I still have the cast crank in the block, and obviously everybody knows there's tons of LSs out there with cast cranks that are pushing well over 1,000 horsepower. So I think obviously BMW is a far superior automotive manufacturer, and I think their cast cranks should be able to hold easily 800-900 horsepower. There isn't a whole lot of data out there on this. I think I've seen one image of a bad crank. Other than that, most of the crank damage you do see is from the oil starvation and bearings going bad and spun bearings and stuff like that. So there isn't a whole lot of data or, you know, any kind of information about people pushing these cast cranks. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and see what this cast crank is capable of. It's got new bearings on it. We got, you know, good oil, new rods, new pistons. So all that stuff is set up to hopefully give us some success. So yeah, we're just gonna run that cast crank. So with that, you know what? I'm gonna start at saying I think our goal we're gonna shoot for to start is 800, and we're gonna go from there. I obviously don't want to push it too quickly. I think we'll do some street tuning and get it ready for the cooler weather. And then once we get that optimal weather and we get those conditions that the car runs really well at, then we can start turning it up and see how it does. We got Streetcar Takeover coming up. We got a few other events. I might try to swing in on Beamer Invasion. I don't know yet. So I plan on running the car pretty hard, and so we'll see what happens. I forgot to mention another addition that we made to the car was Jack's Transmissions has been a great sponsor of mine, and they've helped me out tons, and the transmission is running fantastic, but they don't offer a torque converter. They do offer a torque converter upgrade, but it's not quite to what I wanted. I wanted something with a little bit more of a stall, and then also with the billet stator. And so I reached out to the guys at Pure Driveline Solutions. So we got a new torque converter in the car with a 4,000 stall and a billet stator. So hopefully that'll help me, you know, do some good brake boosting. The F10 chassis on BM3 doesn't give you anti-lag. I've been asking for it. I know a bunch of you guys have been asking for it. So hopefully we can push them to, you know, give us that ability, even with their new program that's coming out for. They just released for the B58, I believe, or the S58, and then they said eventually they'll release it for the N55. In this unit, you can wire in your meth, you can wire in nitrous, you can wire in boost controller and all that stuff. So I'm running the GFB Boost controller per Kerry Jordan's recommendation. Go Fast Bits. It's a really nice boost controller, so we got to get that set up. It's all wired up and it turns on, but we got to make sure it's all correct and get that going. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. Many of you, I think, already know, but I'm just going to tell everybody I'm running the Pulsar 6862 Turbo. So it's pretty much an identical replica of the G35 1050, which I think is going to be perfect. And I ran an 0.83 AR. So I think we'll still get that really good low end. I didn't want to go too big on the AR because I still want the bottom end for this car. It's a big car with me in it. It's pretty close to 4,200 pounds. So I leave the full interior in it right now. And so yeah, I wanted to make sure I still had that low end torque and grunt to get us out of the hole. We were running previously with the Pure 750. The quarter mile time, the best I got, it was ran on the street and on a closed course, of course, in Mexico.
You boys like Mexico?
And we ran an 11.3, and that was no traction in first and second gear. Pretty good weather, and the DA was like low. It was like, for Arizona, it was low. It was like in the 200s or something like that. And then letting out, I think I let out around the 1100 foot mark, and I ran an 11.3. So the car was definitely capable of 10s. I just never made it happen before I lifted the head. And so I think now with this setup, obviously it's going to be easily a 10-second car, maybe even a 9-second car, which I think that would be really cool to do. But we'll have to wait and see just with the weight and how everything works. But I think we can easily get into the 5s for the 60 to 130s. And then we'll go from there, maybe even 4s. It's just a matter of how it holds. I honestly don't want to work on this car anymore until it cools down or until I have a shop. And so I want to take it easy for these first couple months and, you know, just get the car broken in a little bit more and see how everything holds with the ARP head studs, with the new torque converter. The piston rods are rated to like 800 or 900 horsepower, so I don't think we'll have an issue there. Mostly reliant on torque, so we can still keep the torque pretty low and put down some decent power. So yeah, we're just got a lot of things going on. It's been a pretty busy journey these last couple months, and I'm really excited to get this thing back on the road and get it driving. As you can probably see, I'm waiting for my front bumper. I'm getting it repainted and rewrapped in PPF, so we'll have a clean front bumper. And then I'm also making a new splitter. Many of you have bought this front bumper from me off our website, the conversion bumper. Decided I need to make some revisions to it, and then I'm going to go ahead and make my own. So that is actually in the works right now. It's going to be a little bit thicker aluminum, and we're going to actually make them here in Arizona. Really appreciate everybody reaching out and, you know, asking me questions, and I love helping everybody and giving everybody the lowdown. I've had a few questions about people asking me if I'll build them a motor and send it to this place and that place, and I'm kind of not in that space right now. I am still working from my garage at home. And it's taken its toll on me. This summer has definitely brought me to the end of my rope, and I think it's time for me to get a shop, but I still work my full-time job, so I don't feel like I'm in the space to be, you know, supplying or working on customer cars at this moment. I work on my car, obviously, because it's my fun and my pride and joy, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. I think I would rather, you know, develop and design and bring you guys products and kind of go from there. So but we'll see. That can always change, and you never know. Things could go in a different direction. So, but yeah, I think I can't start any more projects until I get a shop and a lift. I'm almost 40 years old now, and this has the climbing on and rolling around on the ground and on jack stands. I need a lift. I need a rack. I need to be able to work on a car more easily and in an air-conditioned setting, because 110 in these conditions is just, it takes a toll on you over a period of time. So I'm ready to have the easy route. I've obviously been working on cars since I was probably 12 years old, in machine shops since I was 15, 16 years old. So I've put my time in, so I think I've only earned the ability to work in an air conditioning setting. I've owned so many cars without AC in these hot summers, and so I think I've owed it to myself to now take it a little bit easier on my aging self. So yeah, I'm really excited, and sorry I haven't given you guys an update more recently. I'm actually thinking about doing some one-on-one interviews with some of the local racers and shops, and I obviously see a lot of podcasts out there. Tuke Street Alpha has an awesome YouTube, so definitely look forward to, you know, researching and moving forward with that. So keep an eye out on that. I think we're going to do one here in the next couple weeks and see how it goes and see what you guys think about it. So definitely let me know what you guys think. Love bringing you guys along on this journey to prove to the world that N55 is not a lost cause. I still stand by what I believe is that any BMW, once you open it up they're pretty much equal depending on tuner and turbo, because once you open these motors up, all you got to do on these is close deck it, you know, forged internals, forged crank, and you put the right tune and the right turbo on this thing and you're beating everybody on the road. That's just my opinion, and I'm out there to prove it. I think I bought this car for $25K, so I think I got another 30 into it with build and everything else and transmission and all that. So I had a lot of people like, why do you spend and waste your time on this? And honestly, I have less into this car than some of these guys out here with new B58 cars and, you know, even some, you know, higher end S55 cars. I support a lot of you guys out there that may not have the pockets to build those newer cars, that, you know, this N55 will hold true and it will, you know, push these limits, but we need the data. I think there's one car out there, I think on the forums, I actually asked this question. I know Steve from Wedge Performance and a couple of the guys are running 700 wheel horsepower on their M235s with the S55 forged crank, or the S55 style forged crank. So I know those numbers are out there. There's one person that I think I've seen that made over 870, I think was the number that I saw on one of the forums. It was a one-time hit. Obviously anybody can make a one-time hit. It's just a matter of the endurance and the durability of the engine after that. I kind of plan on doing that with this car. We'll do a couple different boost controller settings for PSI, and we'll initially tune it for probably 750, 8, 850, and 9, and see if it holds together at 9, and then just kind of, you know, sit on those other settings for a while until I feel like it's a good time and everything's holding together and it's reliable to move up to the next setting. So the main thing is that I'm worried about, obviously, is the closed deck. Right now with the epoxy closed deck, I know there's some Honda guys out there making over, you know, 1,000 horsepower with the epoxy closed deck, and so I obviously did enough research and I think it's a strong enough solution to work, but we'll have to wait and see and go from there. But once again, really appreciate everybody joining the channel. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit our website, inhouseperformance.com. We got hats, we got shirts, we got all the gear for you guys. We got the diverter block off plates. We got the bumper for sale. We'll have we have the actual belly pans now for sale. And then we'll have the splitters and a bunch of other little stuff here and there for sale. Variant has been an awesome sponsor, my boy Taylor. As you can see the A-rays in the back, we are going to make those into a beadlock, and we're gonna go ahead and make them in a 17. Throw some Mickey's tees on there and make this thing hook. So definitely check our website out, check out Variant Wheels, awesome guys. They'll, you know, make a wheel to your spec, to your car. So none of this off the shelf, you know, slap on a wheel and the fitment's garbage. They'll do the offsets. We've tested and done so many different variations of offsets and sizes. So definitely check us out on the website and check out Variant Wheels. And thanks again. Hope you guys enjoy yourselves on this next week, and we'll try to get back to you with an update soon. Thanks for joining. Have a good one.